discuss an important initiative that we have planned on the Kashmir issue, which I foreshadowed in a meeting in Bradford late last year, but have now fleshed out sufficiently to make further announcements about it. Before I begin, let me pay tribute to Qazi Hussain Ahmad, who passed away, the Jamaat-e-Islami leader, who passed away a few weeks ago, and who was a doughty fighter for the Kashmiri people, and may God have mercy upon his soul. We here in Respect Kashmir, because we respect the right of every people to self-determination. We respect international legality, not the fake international community that sets itself up as a subset of the international community and seeks to dictate around the world, but the decisions of the United Nations themselves, taken by consensus and which remain unimplemented. That's why, for example, I have spent a very long part of my life, and Respect has been extremely active on the issue of Palestine, which is all in times of the historical facts, as well as the narrative itself, a remarkably similar story. The Palestinian people have been denied international legality, have been denied the implementation of United Nations resolutions, and everyone in the world now knows about it. The Kashmiris have suffered exactly the same thing, but everyone in the world does not know about it. And very few people in the world are concerned about it. And that's the paradigm that we need to change. It's a big order. I know this because I was involved in the Palestinian question since the mid-1970s. It's taken decades, and much blood has flowed in those decades. It's taken decades to make Palestine the #1 international issue in the world. And we have to set ourselves the objective of no less than making Kashmir as important and as central a political issue in the world as the Palestinian issue has become. It's late. The Kashmiris have been suffering for 60 years and more. The Kashmiris have been denied for 55 years or more the implementation of a United Nations resolution which afforded them the right to a plebiscite to decide their own future, a decision of the United Nations that was accepted by the Indian government, and not just any Indian government, but the Prime Minister, the greatest of the Indian Prime Ministers, Mr. Nehru himself, actually stated that they accepted this resolution and that plebiscite would be held, but it has never been held. The Palestinian Intifada, or 3 intifadas, have become part of international law. But there has been an intifada in occupied Kashmir almost for exactly the same length of time, and which has led to the loss of far, far more people than the intifadas in Palestine. Something approaching 100,000 people have lost their lives in that intifada. Tens of thousands of political prisoners have languished in the Indian dungeons throughout that intifada. Rape as an instrument of war has been systematically used by the Indian occupation authorities in occupied Kashmir. And I myself have met some of the victims of that horrific practice. The economy of occupied Kashmir has almost ceased to exist. People are living on absolutely starvation levels of income, because that which was a major tourist industry has been completely decimated. The Indian occupation forces in occupied Kashmir are the largest occupation force anywhere assembled in the whole world. 600,000 Indian soldiers are occupying the people of occupied Kashmir and are ready to pay any price, it appears, in blood and treasure in order to insist upon the illegitimate rule of India in Kashmir. So we have decided that the time is right to relaunch our work on Kashmir. I myself, as many of you know, have been involved in this question for more than 30 years. In fact, one of the earliest videos available on YouTube is a speech by me in 1990 in Muzaffarabad, where I warn you now, before you go to look at it, I looked rather different than I do today. I don't want you thinking it's not me. It's me in Muzaffarabad in 1990, making a speech such as this. I formed the National Lobby on Kashmir in the 1990s, which had some extraordinary successes. We held a national lobby of the British Parliament. We brought 7,000 Pakistanis and Kashmiris to London to lobby their individual MPs. We held a big rally in Central Hall, Westminster. It was, as it happened, the day that John Major resigned as the leader of the Conservative Party in an attempt to lance the boil of opposition to his cabinet. So the whole international media was there at Westminster that day, and they could not ignore 7,000 British Pakistanis and Kashmiris lobbying their MPs at the same time. It was a splendid success. We chartered a train and took it to Brussels and lobbied the European Parliament, lobbied all the British members of the European Parliament to press upon them the need to internationalize this question into European arenas. We held rallies and meetings and petitions around the country. It was a very successful organization. Those of you who were around at the time will know that it was destroyed willfully by the Saifur Rahman was his name, a witchfinder general, who was part of his ire against the recently overthrown government of Benazir Bhutto, revealed to the Indian authorities and the rest of the world all the funding from the Pakistan High Commission for these trains and buses and Westminster Hall and lobbies and so on, putting me in a lot of trouble, such that the Speaker of the House of Commons told me I should not address the issue of Kashmir in Parliament any further, any longer, and making it impossible to get other politicians then involved, because one of the politicians smeared by Saifur Rahman was Sir Gerald Kaufman, then the Shadow Foreign Secretary, who was smeared as having gone to Geneva and other places at the expense of the government of Pakistan. Nothing at all wrong or immoral about doing so, but of course once these things become a matter of hot political controversy, the other politicians at least run away. Well, I didn't run away, and I don't intend to, and I'm ready to return into the breach for this cause, which is sacred and which is vital. So we have the task of elevating this question vastly from the doldrums in which it currently sits. There are several problems with this. We have to be honest in a gathering like this about those problems. The squabbling parties in Pakistan are far too busy with their own internal fights to launch any kind of initiative internationally which will highlight the situation in Kashmir. This is unfortunate, but it's not our business. It's not my business, at least. I don't get involved in internal Pakistani politics, and it would be unwise in every sense for me to do so. But it is a fact. We cannot count on Pakistan, the Pakistani political class, to do this job for us. The second problem is that when you say you're talking to the Kashmiris, the first question which arises, which ones? There's a lot, there's an alphabet soup of J, K, L and F and P and O. You know what I'm talking about. We have to remain absolutely separate, and I think above that. We have no interest in any political organization in Jammu and Kashmir. I don't mean we're not interested in it. I mean we have no interest in it. And we have no intention of interfering in it or getting involved in it. We have only one demand. It is the demand for the implementation of the United Nations resolution, so that there is a plebiscite, so that there is the exercise of self-determination by the people of Jammu and Kashmir. How they vote thereafter is a matter for them. It's not a matter for us, and on it we have no opinion. And so by remaining separate from that, I believe that we can ensure the maximum unity behind the campaign that I'm launching today. I said last year at a meeting in Bradford in a restaurant that in the course of 2013 I would organize a convoy from Bradford to Kashmir. It was widely welcomed, I think, because people saw the impact of the convoys that I had led to break the siege of Gaza over and over again, 5 times. We traversed North Africa, helping in a small way to bring about some of the revolutions that have occurred in North Africa in the period since, and we ensured massive publicity for the Palestinian cause, for the siege on Gaza, for the need to break it, thereby. The biggest of them, which was 120 trucks, which left from London, which became 250 trucks by the time it reached Gaza, took some $10 million worth of aid into the occupied land, the besieged land of Gaza, but it raised far more awareness than $10 million could ever buy you. It was an absolute, ever-present, every day, every night feature in the news, in all the television stations along the way. We also tried other routes across Europe, into Turkey, through Syria, and into Jordan, and were trapped in Jordan, had to come back to Syria, sailed to Al Arish in Egypt, and then fight the Egyptian dictatorship's forces, literally fight them to get through. Many of my friends here today were with me on these convoys, and they are experienced officers in getting these convoys through, and the need to make the maximum impact with these convoys. So I think we're the people to do it. Me and Ash and many others. Put up your hand if you run any of these convoys. There's 2 here. We've got far more, but I'll tell you, if you've got Aki and you've got Ash, you've got a convoy. If you have to have a fight with anybody, Aki's a very good man to have on your side. He's not called Aki Karate for nothing. And he protected my life, literally, on these convoys. But we've 2 here in the room, but we have here in Bradford many who are experienced organizers, officers, who helped me get these convoys through to Gaza, which were unforgettable experiences for those on them, by the way. And we'll go to our graves when we see each other for the last time, and hopefully when we see each other again in the other life. We will always be able to say we were the people who broke that siege on Gaza. Well, let's break the siege on Kashmir. It's time. Now, people ask me, will the Indian government allow this convoy into occupied Kashmir? No. The answer is, I demand that they let this convoy into occupied Kashmir. If they don't, that's a matter for them. But I demand that they do, and we'll head there in order to try and break this blockade. If they refuse, they are the losers. Not us. We are the people who tried. They are the people who stopped us. And will make an impact in international public opinion and in politics inside India if they do. If they refuse, and I was very recently refused a visa for India to go to Goa not even to speak about Kashmir, but I was refused the visa because of Kashmir. In fact, they said to me, if you will announce that you are not going to take a convoy to Kashmir, you can have the visa in 15 minutes. I told them, I can't so announce, because I am going to take a convoy to Kashmir. So they refused me entry to India just a matter of a couple of months ago. So they may very well not allow me, but they'll have to refuse all of you, and they'll have to turn all of us away. And if they do, as I say, that will have its own political impact. If we have to, then we'll go to the part of Kashmir which remains free, to Azad Kashmir, and we'll make as much of an impact there as we possibly can. But we will try to reach the occupied territory. But all the way there, we'll be making an impact every day. We'll hold political meetings, rallies, speeches, lobby politicians and the media in all the countries through which we pass. So I'm provisionally setting a date here of the 1st of September. The 1st of September gives us enough time to organize this properly and allows us to reach the area before the weather turns particularly bad. That date is not fixed in stone. If people have objections to it, we need to find out from Iqbal Saab what the Hajj dates and arrangements are. I've lost a bit of track of that. And that may impact. But around about the early autumn, we should set out. And therefore we should be there in the late autumn. And back here in Bradford and to all the places from which people come in good time for the end of the year. And then the beginning of the year, we have other matters to deal with, namely the local council elections here in Bradford. I think it'll make quite a splash. In order to provide the organizational base for this effort, I can announce today that we are setting up a Respect Kashmir Solidarity Campaign, which will have all the characteristics that I have just been describing. It will stay out of Pakistani politics, it will stay out of internal Kashmiri politics. Its interest only is in the relief of the state of siege which exists in the occupied territory and the implementation of international law in regard to self-determination for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Its base will be across the road at 2 Grattan Road in the Respect National Headquarters. But you don't have to support Respect to support this initiative, and you don't have to support Respect to join this campaign. But somebody has to run it, and we are, I think, the only people who are going to do that. So what am I asking for? I'm asking everyone who hears about this to sign up. We'll have a Facebook page, a website, a Twitter account, all of these things. They're all mod cons. Sign up, say you're coming, tell us the name and the number and registration and so on of your vehicle. Because we have to make, there's a lot of arrangements involved. We have to arrange to cross the channel. We have to arrange to go through all these European countries. We have to cross other countries. The exact route we are planning now. But we need permissions and visas and so on. It's a big, big organizational task. So we need names of people who are coming, passport details of people who are coming, the make, registration, what's the other number? What's the number they need from the chassis numbers and so on from all these vehicles as soon as possible. And electronically and in other means we'll be putting out a call in the days to come, the next week or so, as widely as we possibly can. So resolve amongst yourselves that you're coming, or you're going to sponsor somebody else to come. It's not a charity event. It's not a charity convoy. Of course, people can take in their own vehicles whatever they want to, but we're not announcing it as a charity because it's a political campaign, and the Charity Commission and charity law in Britain does not allow charities to have political aims. We don't want to get involved in that morass. So let me explicitly state, this convoy is a political campaign to demand the right of self-determination for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. I should say, in conclusion, we don't hate India. Only a fool could hate India. India is a great country representing great civilizations. It's one of the most important countries in the world, and in the next 100 years will become one of the very most important countries in the world. We certainly bear no enmity towards any Indian in our midst. Indeed, some of our members here are Indian by descent. We bear no ill will towards any Indian anywhere, least of all here in Bradford. This is not aimed against you. Personally, I'm against the breakup of India. The secessionist forces in different parts of India leave me cold. I want to see India united and strong. But you can't hold on illegitimately to a place that was never supposed to be a part of India in the first place. That's illegitimate and will never persist. However many soldiers they send there, the people will resist it. And everyone here knows the scale of the suffering of the people of the occupied land. So this is not any kind of act of aggression against India, still less Indian people. It's an act of solidarity with a group of imprisoned people who have been incarcerated in a state that they were never intended to be in, have no wish to be in, as a plebiscite would show, in overwhelming number, which is of course why the plebiscite has never been held. So that's the plan. I'm announcing here today the launch of the Respect Kashmir Solidarity Campaign and the putative departure date of September 1 for a vast international convoy which will leave Bradford and, God willing, appear in Sirinagar to great enthusiasm from the imprisoned people there. Assalamu alaikum. Anyone have any questions, any points they'd like to make?